little explosion.
We have located the bodies of 11 men, so it would appear that these men died instantly.
The bodies of the 11 men were found in the southwest section of the mine.
Labor leaders and Westray families will remember this disaster as they stand on ground above the mine shaft.
It happened at Westray in 1992. 26 men killed for reasons that were not their own. Families and communities left in shock, devastated. Despite the best efforts of workers and their unions to make the workplace safe, workers today continue to be killed and injured in increasing numbers, giving Canada one of the worst safety records in the industrialized world. Getting killed or injured on the job in Canada has become routine, something expected, a normal part of working life.
When it comes to health and safety, we're not anywhere close to where we should be. We still have, on average, about 1,000 people die a year. Workplace death and workplace injury and disease generally has been relegated to part of doing business in our society, and we have to make that change. In a Toronto paper, there's an article about a dog that died on the front page of a newspaper, and we know now that our statistics show that on average 3 people die every single day in Canada because of their work. Where are they? Why aren't they profiled?
Crown prosecutors in Nova Scotia had to stay the charges in spite of overwhelming evidence of gross, I would call, criminal negligence, because under the current criminal code they couldn't make those charges stick.
The death of 26 miners at Westray was an important turning point in this country's labor history. A time when the steelworkers fought tooth and nail to have safer laws put on the books. Laws that would hold the employer criminally responsible for worker death and injury.
The passage of Bill C-45 represents the final step in this House in making significant reforms to the criminal law as it applies. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
But getting the laws put on the books and enforcing them are two different things.
Since the last 6 years, since the Westray bill has been proclaimed, there's been about 6,000 workers that have died. The success rate on enforcing and prosecuting violators of the Criminal Code of Canada is abysmal.
Lynn Williams is 86 now and battling Parkinson's disease. He believes the lack of enforcement may partly be the result of a simple but persistent class system.
Well, it's the class structure of our society. The managers and the political leaders all come from the same cut, generally. They went to school together. They were raised in the same kind of circumstances. And the idea of putting my old buddy in the class in jail because he killed somebody in his plant is, well, they shudder at the prospect.
What role did the Prime Minister of Canada play in the Westray mine decision?
Laws in Canada have traditionally placed higher priority on the employer's right to carry on business than on the worker's right to a safe and healthy workplace. In the mid-1970s, the deaths of miners from cancer at Elliott Lake led to the Ham Commission. The results of this commission led to the creation of joint health and safety committees. By the late 1980s, workers had successfully fought for 3 basic rights: the right to know about hazards in their workplace, the right to participate in health and safety, and the right to refuse unsafe work. Still, the deaths and diseases in the workplace increased.
We're seeing huge numbers of workers with cancer, with brain cancer, with breast cancer, with all sorts of cancers that we can't figure out what they're attributable to. Just recently, they finally demonstrated that shift work is associated with breast cancer, yet that took 11 epidemiological studies.
Dr. Lepel believes some of the deaths, diseases, and injuries are directly related to globalization.
Governments are moving out of regulating occupational health and safety. We're going to cut anything that is an impediment to business, including worker protection, including occupational health and safety, workers' compensation costs. And in order to do that, we deregulate, we encourage businesses to be the most competitive as possible, and governments seek to back out of the protection of workers as they see this as a cost of doing business.
At first glance, workers seem to be well surrounded by health and safety programs, but more and more of these are designed by the companies themselves without strong input from workers.
Unions are terribly co-opted by programs in general, safety programs in general, because it's easy. They're shiny, they're polished, they look nice, but they're not effective. They generally try to blame workers or put responsibilities for health and safety on the backs of workers, where really in the workplace, the manager is responsible. That's what the Westray bill clearly outlined, is management is responsible for the health and safety of workers. So does every provincial and federal health and safety legislation in Canada. It always puts the onus on the employer.
We talk about deaths because they're hard to hide. And even then, deaths from disease are still hidden. When things that are much easier to hide are all the injuries that are going on that are often not acute injuries. They're musculoskeletal disorders, repetitive strain injury. It's the most expensive cost of compensation in Quebec. Most significant number of cases, 40% of injuries, are musculoskeletal disorders, if you include your bad backs. And at the same time, that again, we know is just the tip of the iceberg, because most people are discouraged from claiming. If they do claim, they're often contested. They have to get medical expertise. It's very hard to prove that it's work-related.
It is this new workplace that thousands of students enter each year. They arrive unsuspecting, unprepared for the dangers they'll face at work.
Honestly speaking, I knew nothing, absolutely nothing about health and safety. And when the steelworkers came into our careers classroom and did a presentation on it, I was astonished by the fact that something like this happens in the workplace and something like this can happen to me one day.
Teenagers do, because I have a lot of aunts and uncles that work in factories, and a few months ago my aunt actually got her 2 fingers cut off because she works at a factory, and it's like ever since then she's not the same person. She's still a young lady, she's not even 40 yet. When it happened, the supervisor came in and he sent her flowers and food and all that, and he told her what to say to the insurance company to make it seem like it wasn't the company's fault, it was just carelessness or whatever, and it's almost like her opinion was silenced.
Well, it's all about rights. We need to know them, we need to be educated about them, so when we go into the workforce, we're not screwed around.
It is a tragic oddity that the people we elect to work on our behalf end up becoming the very obstruction that prevents us from obtaining stronger laws. Laws that would help prevent needless injury, illness, and suffering. April 28th of each year is the day we rededicate ourselves to fighting for these laws, given the continued deaths and the rise in new illnesses resulting from the modern workplace. It is a fight that may require a more aggressive strategy, one that fights on several fronts.
The battle, the political battle, is very much the battle for jobs, for safety and health, for a busy economy, for decent wages, as any other part of our activity. That to just depend on collective bargaining and not fight the political battle is to fight with one arm tied behind your back, because they can take away politically everything you accomplish in collective bargaining terms with the sweep of a hand or the signing of a signature. So we've got to fight. We've got to build and work on both those fronts.
Nothing's being done about workers dying on the job or being sick or hurt because of their job, because politicians and companies can get away with it. And it's become socially acceptable for companies to get away with effectively murder, corporate murder. And we have to fight back. And you know, there's a good saying out there now in workplaces: if you kill a worker, then you go to jail.